Welcome to Visualpath EdTech. We all might be having a question on how companies evaluate us and what type of skills they will be looking at. To answer this, person having skill sets of Java are more preferred nowadays. Having Java skills on your resume increases your chance of getting hired. But before that, we need to have an understanding of Java, that is, having the basic fundamental knowledge of Java. To get a deep understanding of Java basics, please go through our technical sessions in visualpathedtech.com, where each topic is explained in detail. As a candidate, if we have preferred Java skill set, then we need to understand how company rates our performance based on different tests they conduct. For example, TCS is now conducting a TCS NQT test shortly in the month of April. The coding section of TCS NQT evaluates candidates' problem solving skills, algorithm thinking, and coding proficiency. The question covers various topics, including data structures, algorithm, and logical reasonings. Some of the most commonly used topics are array manipulations, string manipulations, number manipulations, search and sorting, and some of the mathematical problems. Today, let's see about array manipulations. So, before we go to the questions what are frequently asked in the exam, let's briefly about what is an array. Java array is an object which contains element of similar data type. We can store only a fixed set of elements in Java array. In Java, all the arrays are dynamically allocated. Java array inherits the object class and implements the serializable as well as clonable interface. We can create a single dimension and multi-dimensional array in Java. And what are the advantages? You get is a code optimized. That is, we can retrieve or sort the data efficiency. It also provides a random access. That is, we can get any data located at any index position. The disadvantage is size limit. We can only store a fixed size of elements in the array. It does not grow its size at runtime. To solve this problem, collection framework is used in Java which grows automatically. So now what are the most common questions that have occurred in the previous papers of TCS NQT? Let's see one by one. We will now look and practice at what are the most frequent questions that have occurred in the previous TCS NQT coding test. The first and the foremost, the simplest program which have occurred frequently is write a Java program to find the sum of numbers in an array. So now let us see how we can achieve this. So let's write a class. So we have defined a class as public class test. Then we are writing as public static void main string arguments. Then we define an integer array. Int array is equals to, we define some array values 3, 1, 2, 5, 4. Then we define a method and pass the array to that method. So then we need to define that method, right? So public static void sum, it takes integer argument. Then we define an integer variable as sum is equals to 0. We might all be familiar with one of the most important concept of Java, which is the for loop. So we will be using the for loop for int I is equals to 0, I is less than array dot length and I plus plus. Then we have sum plus is equals to array of index of I. So then what we'll be doing is we will be printing using system.out.println sum of array values plus sum. So when this program runs, the for loop iterates over the array.length, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and it will add all the values to this particular sum. So the total will be 3 plus 1 4, 5 6 plus 5 11 plus 4 15. So here the output it will print as 15. Earlier we have checked on how to find the sum of numbers in an array. The next most frequent question which was asked in the previous paper is find the smallest number in an array. There are multiple approaches where we can find the smallest number of an element in an array using our traditional for loop or using the Java util class of array class using arrays or using the collections. So let's go one by one and see how we can do programmatically each approach. So the first approach is what we are going to discuss now. I'm writing a class then I'm defining a method int integer argument a comma int total. We will be initializing one temp value, then we'll write a for loop, then again one more inner for loop, j is less than total and j plus plus. Then we add some conditions like if a of I greater than a of j, then go inside this loop if loop where we assign to the temp value temp is equals to a of I, then a of I is equals to a of j, then a of j is equals to temp value, then finally RTO return a of 0. Then we go with public static void main, public static void main string argument. Let's define an array 1 2 5 6 3 2. We can define one more array int b is equals to bigger numbers like 44 66 99 77 34, 24, 55. Then system.out.println will just print smallest plus you have defined a method on the top. Method name is smallest value. So we can just print like smallest value and we can pass the array and total number of arguments in an array as 6. Similarly, we can print system.out.println smallest value. Then we can pass b comma 7. So the when you pass these values to an array, it will iterate over the for loops, check these conditions and get the smallest value. So when this array is passed, the output or the smallest value in this array will be 1, and in the below one, if the smallest value will be 24. This is the first approach where we have checked using the traditional for. Now let's see another approach using arrays. Arrays is found in java.util package. So let's see how the approach changes by using this. So we need to import java.util.star. Then we can define a method, public class smallest using util. Then we can define a method in this, public static int smallest value integer argument a comma. The same thing we can pass the same method. We have whatever we have declared earlier. The only change is we are using the arrays class here. Then you have an inbuilt method dot sort in that. So this will sort the array and directly simply you can return a of 0. So it will sort and then you get the smallest number. Then we can define as public static void main string arguments. Then we define two integer arrays, int a, the same thing whatever we have defined earlier. We can take like 1, 2, 3, 5, 2 again, 6. Similarly, we can define int b. You can define some random numbers. I'm just defining some random numbers here. Array value 77, 33, 65, 98, 22, 53. And just I'll print system dot out dot println. I want to get the smallest. So I'll write SMA smallest value. I can just pass the array. It's the same previous method. The only change is we have used the arrays of java.util class which has an inbuilt method of sort. So we have used this, you have sorted the array and just return a of 0. So this gets sorted with the smallest one. So the smallest one will be 1. So the output of this will be 1. This similarly, you can do system dot out dot println smallest, you can print plus smallest value, then we pass the integer of b comma 7. So the same thing, it gets sorted out and you get the output as smallest value as 22. So this is the second approach what we have seen here. Now let us see what is the final approach where we can get the smallest number in a Java array using collections. So this is where all your knowledge is being tested, where you have used a Java basic concept of traditional for loop, you have used array methods of sort, and now you are using how to do using collections. So we have again, we'll define a class, we'll just import java.util.star to import the packages. Then we define a class, public class smallest array example. Let's define a method, public static int sml is smallest value integer array a. The same method, instead of int we have changed integer array a, int total. Then we define list integer list is equals to arrays dot as list. So arrays has a method called as list which converts the array to a list. Then we can do as collections dot sort list. Then we can have as int element is equals to list dot get of 0, return element. Then for testing we can do it public static void main string arguments. What you can same thing you can define, same like earlier approaches, integer a, the only change is from int we are changing it to integer. 1 2 3 4 6 3. Then again we'll define one more int integer b. Some random numbers you can pick in an array, 44 58 62 73 65 80 22 98. So we have defined those array values. Then simple thing, the same thing, same approach, system out dot println we can get smallest value a comma 6. Can have system dot out dot println smallest value b comma 7. So earlier we have used for loop. So for using that for loop, we need to have the total length of the array. But since we have used the Java util package, so even if this you have not declared, should also work, because you are using the sorting of the array dot sort. So these are the three approaches by using which you can calculate you can find the smallest or the largest number in an array. Till now, we have worked on few of the examples which are asked most frequently, like find the smallest or the largest number in an array, calculate the sum of elements in an array. Now let us look at one more most frequently asked questions related to array is remove duplicates from sorted or unsorted array. So let us try how we can remove the duplicates from sorted array. The idea to solve this problem is to create a new array and store the unique elements in the new array. For checking duplicate elements, just check two adjacent elements are equal or not because the array here we have taken is sorted. Follow the steps mentioned below to implement the idea. Create an auxiliary array temp to store unique elements. Traverse input array one by one and copy the unique elements of array to the temp array. Also keep the track of count of unique elements. Let this count be j. Copy the j element from temp array to an array and return j. So we have just discussed theoretically. Now let's see how we can achieve this programmatically. So let's define a class and have defined a class. Now we write a function to remove a duplicate elements. This function returns the new size of the modified array. So static int remove duplicates int array int n. Return if array is empty or contains a single element. So this condition we need to implement. If n equals to 0 or n equals to 1, return n. Then int temp is equals to new int of en. Start traversing the element. So what we'll do, int j is equals to 0. We have again follow the traditional for loop approach. For int I is equals to 0, I is less than n minus 1 and I plus plus. So if current elements is not equals to the next element, then store that current element. So let's write the condition for this. If array of I is not equals to array of I plus 1, then temp temp we increment the j plus plus is equals to array of I. Then store the last element as whether it is unique or repeat. It has stored, it hasn't stored previously. So we are storing the last element as whether it is unique or repeated. It hasn't stored previously. So how we can do that? Temp j plus plus is equals to array of n minus 1. Then modify the original array for int I is equals to 0, I is less than j, I plus plus array of I is equals to temp of I, then retu and return j. So we have finished writing the method where it will check for the duplicates. So the next one is to write a public static void main. We will write it as public static void main string arguments arg we have we will write int integer array is equals to 1 2 2 3 4 4 4 5 and 5, and int n is equals to array dot length, then n is equals to remove the method we have written duplicates array, we pass the array comma n. Remove duplicate, it returns the new size of the array. Then you can print the updated array. So what we can do, we can write the for loop for int I is equals to 0, I is less than n, I plus plus, you can print, sorry, just, so we have just written a for loop, and you can print sys system dot out dot print println array of I, array of I. So the output will be 1 2 3 4 5. This is one of the approach what we have just now checked. Let us check the other approach by using set. So now we are using the approach of set. So using a set to collect the unique elements from the array. Update the array with the unique elements, modifying the size. Print the modified array. Now it contains only unique elements. Now let's see how we can achieve this programmatically. So just I am removing the earlier one, whatever we have approached using for loop. Now let's start writing by using some imports. Java dot util dot has set, then import java dot util dot set. Now we write a method, sorry, we write a class, public class removal of duplic duplicate values. Then we write a method where from the we write a method to remove the duplicates from the array and return the count of unique elements. So static int remove duplicate elements. For this, we pass integer array, comma, int n. Then, if n is less than or equals to 1, we can type retu return n. Use a set to store the unique elements. So you must be familiar with the collection framework of Java, which includes hash set and set. Set integer unique elements is equals to new hash set. Now traverse the array and add the elements to the set. So for this, for int I is equals to 0, I is less than n, I plus plus, the set method, the set has a dot add method. It has an add method, unique elements dot add array of I. So we have added all the array elements to the set. Then we define int index is equals to 0. Iterate through the unique elements and update the original array. So for this, for int element colon, this is the other way approach of using the for loop. This is one way of approach and this is the other way of approach of using the for loop. Then array of index plus plus is equals to element. Then return unique elements dot size size returns the count of unique elements. Now let's write out today how we can pass the values and test it. So what is the approach? We write public static void main string arguments. Let's define int integer array is equals to 1 comma 2 2 comma 3 4 4 4 comma 5 and 5. Then we find int n is equals to array dot length n is equals to remove duplicate elements and get the count array comma n. Now print the modified array containing the unique elements. So for int I is equals to 0, I is less than n, I plus plus. You can just print system dot out dot println array of I. So this will print all the unique elements and the output will be 1 2 3 4 and 5. So these are the two approaches using which we can remove the duplicates from a sorted or an unsorted array. So till now we have seen few of the programs which are most frequently asked in the NQT exam. So now let's see one more familiar question which keeps repeating in your exam. That is, how do you reverse an array in Java? So there are numerous methods like using a temporary array, using swapping, using collection.reverse method, using string builder.append method. Now let's see how we can achieve this using a temp array. The first method is as follows. Take the input size of an array and the elements of the array. Consider a function reverse which takes the parameter, the array, and the size of the array, say n. Inside the function, a new array with the array size of the first array dot array is initialized. The array is iterated from the first element and each element of array is placed in the new array from the back. That is, the new array is iterated from its last element. In this way, all the elements of the array are placed reversely in the new array. Further, we can iterate the new array from the beginning and print the elements. So now let's see how we can achieve this programmatically. Till now we have just discussed like the approach, but let's see how we can do it programmatically. So let's start writing with the class name public class reverse array. So whatever earlier we have discussed theoretically, we will try to do the same, achieve that result using programmatically. So we're writing a method or a function that reverses an array and store it in another array. Static void reverse int a comma int n int b is equals to new int of n int j is equals to n for int I is equals to 0, I is less than n, I plus plus b of j minus 1 is equals to a of I. J is equals to j minus 1. So now print the reverse of the array. So for this, for int k is equals to 0, k is less than n, k plus plus system dot out dot println b of k. Now we write public static void main string array arguments. How can we test? Int integer array 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Then what we do? We call the method reverse array comma array dot length. So what this does is it prints in a reverse order. The output will be 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. So this is how using our traditional for loop we have able to reverse an array. Now let's see the other method approach where we use collection.reverse method. This method uses the function java.util.collection.reverse list. This method reverses the element in the specified list. Hence, we convert the array into a list first by using java.util.arrays.asList and pass the required array and then reverse the list. So how we can achieve this programmatically? Let us just write a sample program. So we'll just remove whatever we have written here. We just import java.util.star. Then we define a class public class reverse array. Sorry. Then let's define a method or a function static void reverse a integer a. Then we define a collections dot reverse arrays class you can find in java.util package. That's why we have imported java.util arrays.asList. We're converting an array to a list. Then you can just do system.out.println arrays.asList of a. How can you test it? We can do it right a method public static void main string arguments, then integer array is equals to 10, 20, 50, 60, 90. Then and what we do? We call the method reverse a and pass the array. So this is the other approach. So right now we have seen the two approach of how you can reverse an array, and these are the most frequently repeated questions that has occurred in the TCS NQT coding test. The next and the most frequently asked question which has been repeatedly is counting the frequency of an element in an array. There are two simple approaches. What we can do is the first approach is to run two loops for every item count number of times it occurs. To avoid duplicate printing, keep the track of the processed items. So let's see how we can do this programmatically by writing a small program. So we start first by importing the package java.util.arrays. So we can just remove the existing last one. We'll just put java.util.arrays. Then we define a class. So now let's define a method count the frequency int or integer argument comma int n. We define a boolean value. Visited is nothing but number of times it has occurred. boolean n. Then we do arrays dot fill visited comma false. Traverse through the array element and then count the frequency. So for this we need to go with for int I is equals to 0, then I is less than n I plus plus. Skip this element if already processed. So what we need to write condition is if visited of I equals to true, continue. Then count the frequency. So how we can do? Define a count value counter, int count is equals to 1. Then again we write a for loop for int j is equals to I plus 1, j is less than n, j plus plus. If array of I equals to array of j, VVISITD visited of j true is equals to true, then you increment the counter plus plus. Then we can write a method to test in public static void main, public static void main string arguments int integer array is equals to new integer, and we pass 10 20 20 comma 10 10 20 5 20. Then int n is equals to array dot length. Then you call the method count frequency, pass array comma n. So what will happen is when you pass this array to the above method, whatever we have written, it counts the frequency of occurrence of each element. So you can see 10 has occurred 1, 2, 3. So it prints for 10, 10 has occurred 3 times, 1, 2, 3, 4. 20 has occurred 4 times and 5 has occurred 1 time. This is one way of approach using our traditional for loop. So there is another way of approach using binary search. So we have just discussed about the usage of binary search. So it's the most efficient way solution for space optimization. We can find the frequency of array elements using the binary search functions. First, we will sort the array for binary search. Our frequency of elements will be last occurrence minus first occurrence plus 1 of the elements in an array. So let's see how this we can achieve by writing a small program. So we import java.io.star, then import java.util.star. Then we define a class, number of occurrences you can type occurrences. Then the same way we write a method like public static void count frequency int array comma int n if was do arrays dot, it has a method called sort the array for binary search. Then we follow the for loop for int I is equals to 0 and I is less than length of the array n and I plus plus index of the first and the last occurrences of the array. So int first index is equals to arrays dot, it has a method called binary search. You pass the array comma array of I, then index of last occurrence we can take int last index is equals to array dot binary search of array comma I comma array of I. Now we can write the while loop. While first index is greater than 0 and and array of first index minus 1 equals to array of I equals to array of I. Then first index minus minus. Similarly, while last index is less than n minus 1 and array of last index plus 1, we write equals to array of I, then last index plus plus I is equals to last index. Then we define int frequency is equals to last index minus first index plus 1, finding frequency. Then you can use system.out.println to print the frequency. You can use to print frequency. Then you can write a method. How to test it? You can write a method in public static void main, pass the integer arguments and other parameters to get the correct the count of the frequency. This approach looks a bit complex, but you can follow the traditional approach of using two for loops, which is quite easily achievable. So these are the most quite frequently asked questions in the TCS NQT, where it tests you at various levels.